I am Albert. I have recently graduated from university and joined the company as a new employee. Albert, are you in the middle of new employee training? Like an orientation? On a day off, my childhood friend, who has been with me from kindergarten to high school, asked me with great interest. Although we studied different majors, we went to the same university. She went on to graduate school, so she seems to be curious about the unknown world of working adults. Listen, it's surprising, you know? Building physical strength is important. So my mornings always start with a run. Huh? Everyone does it? She seemed to feel the rigor of being a working adult. Well, until the second year of joining the company, everyone participates unless there are special circumstances. After 3 years, it's optional. But I think about half of the company is still running. The other half does crossword puzzles, brain training, and such. Wow, that's interesting. Personally, I would definitely pass on exercise. My friend laughed in a strange way. Even the company philosophy has changed. It's something like be a company that practices lifelong health, hard work, and enjoyable play. So, the first 30 minutes after starting work is dedicated to physical and mental exercises. It's really different. Well, I haven't become a working adult yet, so it's not my place to say. I can have conversations across age groups and departments. It feels like being in school and it's fun. I truly like the company I joined. But despite that, aren't you tired or something? I understand exactly what you mean. I was surprised by my friend's keen observation. Yes, the atmosphere at the company is fine, but there is one enormous obstacle standing in the way. An extremely arrogant individual. You want to quit? Well, just as I thought. You're spineless. Exactly as I expected. In response to a call from the part-time job that had been on a break for several days, my female manager, who is also my department head, sighs deeply and sarcastically scolds me. Her loud voice, clearly audible, seems to contain a malicious intent to completely corner the other person. Her special skill as a manager is the destructive power to completely neutralize the motivation of the person being suffocated. Taking time off and suddenly not showing up for days, abandoning your responsibilities, and then quitting. That's carefree of you, isn't it? Just because you are a part-timer doesn't mean you can escape. I'll push you to the limit until the very end. It's not just sarcasm anymore, it's pure fear. On the last day, the part-time employee, the person on the other end of the call, came to work. I saw her tensing up and holding back tears. What's wrong? Are you okay? She trembles as she speaks, still shaken by being scolded by the manager. Surely, just making this phone call required courage. Since resigning is inevitable, instead of saying more sarcastic remarks, the manager should just release her. That's what I can't help but sigh about. It has been about a month since I joined the company. Considering that the first week was just going around and experiencing different departments within the company, it's astonishing that within the remaining 3 weeks, I have already encountered similar situations twice. You are nothing but a nuisance. You don't even do your job properly and only hold others back. I'm not just pointing that out for nothing. The manager, secretly referred to as the empress within the company, always has deep vertical wrinkles between her eyebrows. Even replenishing the staff requires effort. It's only natural to show consideration by finding a replacement and completing the handover before quitting, right? The employees present feel tension as the manager seeks their agreement. Everyone pretends to focus on their work and nods without making eye contact with the manager. However, oh, you there! You seem dissatisfied about something. Huh? Um, as I imagined the face of the part-time employee, I was entangled in the scrutinizing gaze of the Empress as if she was evaluating me. Let me ask you, since you are receiving a salary, shouldn't you take responsibility for your own work? Um, yes. In that moment, if I were asked to judge the rightness or wrongness of those words, there would be no other answer. Moreover, the manager knowingly directed the conversation in that direction. Is it a good thing to act selfishly in the workplace? No, but selfishness is the enemy of work, isn't it? Unable to bear it any longer, I tried to retort, but I was cut off by a loud voice and ultimately couldn't say anything. I I feel frustrated that I couldn't do anything for the part-time employee who was crying at the time, and that I just obeyed the manager's orders. Well, it's understandable that you'd feel stressed. I'm sorry. I just keep complaining. Despite boasting about my company, I suddenly realized that all I've been doing is one-sidedly venting my frustrations. It's okay. You shouldn't let those things build up. Besides, it's not your fault if you can't argue back, right? If you go against her, you'll be the next target. Watch out not to become a target of that terrible manager who confuses power and authority. Wouldn't that be awful? Thank you. I expressed my gratitude to my best friend and finally broached the main topic. I want to talk about the trip. If I combine the money I earned from my part-time job during college with my first paycheck, I think it will be enough for the expenses. I'm planning to take my grandparents to the vacation spot you told me about earlier. Do you think they'll be happy? This was the real issue I wanted to discuss. She is well informed about traveling with her family to various places. Of course, it's the end that my picky grandmother said was really satisfying. There's no doubt about it. My friend gave her full approval with a smile. That's great. Since we have this opportunity, I want to make it a wonderful memory. I had been saving money little by little to plan the trip with my grandparents. They raised me in place of my parents who passed away when I was young. They always put me first, supporting and caring for me. I wanted to give something back to them, so I worked part-time during college to save money. Using the savings and first paycheck to treat them to a luxurious inn, they would definitely be thrilled. Seeing my friends smile, my cheeks also relaxed. However, it happened on a Friday afternoon, the day before the trip. I was called by the department manager, so I went. Sort and analyze these documents. They will be used next week. She had an audacious smile on her face, wearing bright red lipstick. Huh? A pile of thick documents was suddenly placed in front of me, causing me to widen my eyes in surprise. You want me to analyze all of this by the end of the vacation? There were numerous files, and even one of them alone felt incredibly heavy, not to mention they were all mixed up. Just organizing and sorting them would take up the entire day, and to analyze them as well. Perplexed, I looked at the manager, who seemed triumphant. I'm glad you understand my request. Lately, you've been ignoring my instructions. Unable to tolerate her unfounded accusation, I gathered my courage and retorted. With all due respect, it's Friday, and we have less than 2 hours left until the end of work. It's practically impossible for me to finish these documents by next week. I replied with as calm a tone as possible. Yes, ever since I quit my part-time job, the Empress seemed to have chosen me as her next target and intensified her harassment. She excluded me from internal memos, deliberately gave me incorrect instructions, And top of it all, she burdened me with an overwhelming amount of work that I can't handle, as if she wanted to ruin the trip I had been looking forward to. The manager seemed unaffected by my retort, as if it didn't bother her in the slightest. I told you it's for next week. You can work on it during the weekend if needed. Make sure to finish it on time. Manager! Oh, and just so you know, these documents are confidential. Don't take them home with you. Please, wait a moment. I tried to insist, but the manager interrupted. I have plans now, and I'm leaving directly after work today. Saying that, she left, leaving a pile of documents on the desk. The next day, as I planned, I was under the sky of the journey with my grandparents. My grandparents, noticing me yawning repeatedly, expressed their concern. Are you okay? Going on a trip after pulling an all-nighter. Maybe it would have been better to cancel? I'm fine, don't worry. I was really looking forward to today's trip. Even so. They were worried about me, having worked all night and returning home just before the departure time, despite having informed them in advance. I had caused them unnecessary anxiety. No, it's not good. Since it's a precious trip, I need to make sure they enjoy it. I gathered my spirits internally and smiled at my grandparents. Look at this view! It's amazing! The sea is so beautiful. Now, don't worry about me. I worked hard so that we can eat delicious food at the inn, get messages, and sleep in a comfortable bed. As I tried to lighten the mood like that, my grandparents finally shifted their attention to the scenery, looking relieved. However, a nightmare awaited us in the midst of such enjoyment. Have you finished the task I assigned? Please tell me you didn't give up. A familiar voice, striking enough to make me jump, reached my ears as I strolled through the inn after checking in. Manager? Why? Of all places, why here? As if she could hear my inner thoughts, the manager snorted and laughed. I tried to ruin your weekend, but here you are, ignoring my instructions, just as I suspected you. Her words clung to me like a spell, and I was overwhelmed by dizziness. Are you saying you intentionally ruined my trip to harass me? To burden me with work just to ruin my vacation? Anger bubbled up inside me. But how did you know about my plans? I'm astonished, although the manager had ears everywhere. You were chatting during your break, weren't you? Where are you going? When are you going? How lucky you are, getting praised and feeling all smug about it. It's laughable. Eavesdropping? You shouldn't have been talking so loudly. I realized with a shudder that my innocent conversations with colleagues had been carefully listened to. Anyway, what surprised me is this end. It's beneath you, isn't it? Huh? Confused, I tilted my head and the manager let out a sigh she was knowing for. Huh? Don't you get it? It's bothersome to have common folks roaming around. Look, right next to it, there's a shabby inn that suits you better. I don't understand your point. I'm well aware that I can be a nuisance, but the rest is just the insults and harassment, isn't it? Just as my anger was about to reach its boiling point, I heard reinforcements from behind. Grandpa! And Grandma too! I had thought they were just having tea in the room, but my grandparents were standing behind me. Judging from their expressions, it seemed like they had overheard almost the entire conversation between the department head and me. Well, I tried to come up with an excuse in a hurry. But to my surprise, my grandfather interrupted me and spoke to the department head. Nice to meet you. I'm Elver's grandfather, acting as her guardian for many years. It might be easier to say that I'm the honorary chairman of ABC Company, with whom you discussed the business dealing the other day. Upon hearing that, the department head's face turned pale. What? The top figure in the industry, the honorary chairman, but Elva has a different last name. Ah, you see, this child is using her mother's maiden name. If she didn't, she would be seen through the biased lens as a member of a famous corporate family. I don't want my precious granddaughter to experience difficulties in the company where she has started working. I apologize deeply. I had no idea about such things. The color drained from the department head's face at an alarming rate. Ignorance is not an excuse for rudeness, you know. Uh, no, I mean, In stark contrast to the calm expression of my grandfather, the department head was drenched in sweat and frozen in place. Sorry, but could you convey this to your company's president? I refuse to engage in any business with a company that harbors executives like you. Please, wait a moment. Ignoring the department head's desperate voice, my grandfather continued. This is a company that my granddaughter has just joined. The motto, live a healthy life, work hard, play hard, and be energetic until old age is clever, and the atmosphere is wonderful. I even thought that having distinctive executives is necessary for the company's growth. But your personality and behavior are nothing but harmful. With that, he cut them off and said, If you have any complaints about what I've said, you can ignore it or try spreading bad rumors loudly. This whole scene has been recorded by my granddaughter's camera since the beginning of the trip. Everyone will see whose side will prevail in the end. And with those words, he left the scene like a final ultimatum. As my grandfather said, I had been recording everything from the beginning of the trip with a camera hanging around my neck, preserving the memories with my grandparents. I had forgotten, but the camera had been capturing the events even at the moment. Ah. The manager's voice trembled as he tried to cling to my grandfather's back, but my grandfather shouted at him, It's too late now. Can't you do something about this? Coldly dismissed by my grandfather. The manager approached me with an astonished change of attitude, pleading, I refuse. You always say there's nothing to expect from a rookie like me. I returned the sarcasm that the manager had just said to me, word for word. Suppressing my rising anger and successfully maintaining a smile. Yeah, I thought to myself, maybe I can be an actor too. And on Monday morning at the company, the manager became a problem. The managing director who led the running team stood tall in our department from early morning. Our company's motto is be a company that practices lifelong health, works hard, plays well, and stays fit. We wholeheartedly welcome people who work hard, but it doesn't mean forcing people to work beyond their limits. And especially, it is absolutely unacceptable to compromise their physical and mental health. Executives who impose absurd workloads on their subordinates are only proving their lack of management skills. The managing director's voice echoed through the office. Feeling indignant about being reprimanded first thing in the morning, the manager clenched her fist but tried to calmly inquire. However, the managing director presented her with attendance records from last Friday until today. Here is the attendance log from last Friday to today. 5 employees worked from Friday to Saturday morning. 3 people worked on Saturday and Sunday. And this morning, Elva came in early. The manager seemed unable to comprehend the situation, and her expression became even more bewildered. What is this? Prompted by the managing director's gaze, I explained to the bewildered manager. If I may, the manager instructed me to organize and analyze a vast amount of materials by the start of the week and, if necessary, allow working on holidays. However, it was simply impossible for me to accomplish it alone. Just then, the managing director happened to arrive, so I was able to consult with people around me. With the cooperation of colleagues from different departments, we were able to complete the tasks according to the manager's instructions. As explained earlier, in terms of the number of people and time required. At that moment, the members of the running team who helped me were present, so I expressed my gratitude once again. I only worked from Friday night until Saturday morning and came in early today after returning from a trip. I didn't contribute much, but thank you very much for assisting me. As I bowed my head, I received kind words like, "We help each other in times of trouble." And that's what running buddies are for. The manager, perhaps finally understanding the situation, now turned to me and confronted me. "Collaborating across departments? I never authorized such a thing," seemingly intending to accuse me of overstepping my authority. "I authorized it." Managing director? The manager froze at the remark from the managing director. The new employee from the running team, always smiling, seemed to be in trouble. Upon hearing the circumstances, I realized that they were burdened with an extraordinary task. I could have let them quit, but it was a necessary job for the company. So I took charge and obtained everyone's cooperation. I apologized for the post-facto approval, but before that, the managing director looked at the manager intently. "I absolutely cannot tolerate such base motives as giving them impossible tasks as harassment for their diligent work to show filial piety to the substitute grandmother." It felt like the first time I had heard the managing director's words spoken with such fervor. Then the managing director's expression softened a bit. "My grandchild, who recently learned how to make fried eggs, made them for me when they came to visit. They were burnt and even had eggshells in them. A disastrous outcome, but it was the first dish my grandchild made with great effort. It was the best treat for me." The managing director spoke, relating the proper sentiments a manager should have towards their subordinates to their feelings for their grandchild. "Even though the kitchen was a mess from my grandchild's home-cooked meal, my wife was in a great mood the whole day. That's just how it is. When I told them it was delicious, their little face lit up with pride, and I found it more endearing than anything." Unexpectedly, the employees were moved by the managing director's story. "I still can't forget the taste of the rice porridge my grandmama made when I had a cold. The band-aid my grandpa put on healed quickly." They shared stories about their grandparents' memories. While on the verge of bursting into laughter at the managing director's story about their grandchild, I wondered if the presents for my grandparents would move them that much. And then I said, "The people who helped me that day told me, as I bowed my head in apology, if you think you're causing trouble because of yourself, it's our courtesy to enjoy ourselves without worrying about it," and sent me off on a trip. I love this company, everyone here, and of course, my work. That's why I'm fed up with seeing part-time workers quitting because they are burdened with impossible tasks or employees like me being targeted. I mustered all the courage I had and spoke those words, which led to warm applause from the people around me. However, it seemed to greatly irritate the manager. "Do you think you can speak to me like that?" The managing director quickly intervened. "Silence!" they shouted. "If you want to continue working at this company, you will be demoted without any title or authority. Treat it the same as a new employee. Starting from today, Ever, who joined a little while ago, will be your senior. Be careful about what you say. As it was conveyed that the president had also approved, the manager vigorously shook their head. No way! However, there was no help, and instead, a cold gaze focused on her. If you don't like it, you can submit your resignation anytime. I can't believe this. It was the downfall of the manager, once known as the Empress. Afterward, she was literally demoted to a regular employee. She stayed at the company for a while, but unable to endure the harsh atmosphere around her. One day, she suddenly stopped coming to work. Later on, her resignation letter was sent by mail. Around that time, the company was being interviewed by a TV station, and the program titled Beyond Titles, Bonds Formed by Morning Exercise, was aired, including my story of filial piety. I heard later that our company's motto of not tolerating absurdity received a good response from the viewers. Although the unreasonable female manager remained anonymous, it was widely rumored that her chances of finding another job in the same industry were slim due to her reputation being exposed to business partners. On the other hand, our company was able to establish a business relationship with my grandfather's company successfully. Working with family members can be embarrassing, but it fills me with determination. Moreover, thanks to the heroic tale involving the female manager, I have been receiving even more affection within the company. Wow, you're all fired up. I want to work together after I graduate from grad school. Recently, my best friend said something like that. I also wish that could happen. I want to travel together with my grandparents without any worries this time. So I've started saving money again. It will take time since I can only do it little by little. But look forward to it. Grandpa, Grandma, I intend to cherish these precious moments from now on.